All right. Hey, everybody. It is time for another special episode of Cooking with Robbie. So, today I have a pretty easy recipe to follow. I mean, it's in the title, it says Easy Pot Roast. This recipe was actually a viewer submission, and I got to thinking about it. And I said, man, that does sound pretty good because there's a lot of stuff you can do with the leftovers. So, we're going to shoot for a pot roast today. We're going to cook it up. And this is from what I've read so far, it appears to be a pretty low maintenance recipe as far as getting it cooked and set up. We're gonna make a couple of different sides to eat with it throughout the week as I finish up the leftovers. But initially, we're just gonna do a pot roast with some rice and gravy. Again, this looks to be a pretty simple setup. Takes a long time to cook. The estimated cook time is about 6 hours. Yeah, Hope doesn't like the idea of waiting 6 hours to eat, but it's gonna be pretty good, I think. It's got an interesting list of ingredients that we'll go over real quick, and me and Hope will just have to wait patiently while it cooks. So let's jump over there and take a look at our ingredients real quick. All right, so to cook this, of course, we're gonna need our handy dandy crock pot. We've got a nice, beautiful chuck roast that I bought the other day. Well marbled. You want to see some of this white marks in there? That's the marbling, and that actually, the longer you cook it, it oozes and turns into flavor when it kind of seeps into the meat. We need a stick of unsalted butter, a ranch dressing seasoning mix. I'm kind of having to discern what it meant by peppers, but I kind of thought the idea of a spicy pot roast sounded good, so I bought this pepper sauce. It said pepper something or pepperoncinis. I mean, I've had this before on barbecue, but I never actually put the peppers in it. Like, I just get the juice. And it's got a pretty spicy, good flavor to it. But recipe shows us actually pouring a few of those into our pot roast mix. Now, it also called for a gravy powder mix. And I looked throughout the store and I couldn't find a gravy powder mix. But I've got another idea we're going to try. So I bought this beef broth because after about 15 minutes of looking for it in the store and refusing to ask the question of where it actually is, because I'm pretty sure they actually had it. I just gave up on the scavenger hunt. I found this can of beef broth. So in my head, beef broth plus beef bouillon equals gravy. So we're going to try that out and see if that works. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't think it's going to make a big difference on the flavor either way, but you'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens. So we're going to come over here and change our angle, put the stuff in the pan, put it on low heat, and see what we get. Now, these are some potatoes I'm going to cook up too as a side for later in the week, but I'm not going to cook those up just yet. Today we're going to cook rice. So later on, we'll break from watching this thing cook, take a few minutes to make our rice, and we'll go from there. So again, I think we've got a good episode coming up here, so stay tuned, and we'll see you after the break. All right, so here we are. I guess first thing first, let's turn on our crock pot. We're gonna set it to, so I've got two settings on this sucker. I've got a high and a low. So we don't want high anything. We're gonna put it on the low 8-hour setting. So low 8-hour. If you have the plastic insulators, it saves you from washing the dishes, but since this is the first time that we're trying this recipe out, I don't want to potentially ruin any of the flavors with plastic being in the food, so I'm going to do it right in the crock pot. So this is one of those rare occasions where I'm not going to avoid trying to do the dishes. So, all right, sleeves are up. I actually washed my hands in preparation for the video, so we don't got to worry about that. I've showed y'all the proper technique for washing hands enough times. I think you've got that down pat. This is a big hunk of meat, but it looks really good. It's still a little bit frozen, but I think that's fine. It's been thawed out all morning. I'm gonna stuff that in there. Get that in there real good. Now, pretty much, it don't have much as far as what to do. It just says pour the ingredients in. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with our ranch seasoning, and we're gonna gently kind of sprinkle that onto the top of the pot roast there, back and forth, back and forth. It's almost like we're putting a coating of breading on it. And again, I'm not too concerned with it falling off to the sides, because if it does, it's just going to fall into our gravy mix that we're about to do. Now, the idea behind the ranch, as far as what I read in the recipe, is that you get a lot of that onion and that garlic flavor that you would be using anyway for the recipe. So, I mean, it's all things that are supposed to go in there anyway. So let's see what we got with this pepper stuff. I've certainly never used this before, but it says pour it right in there and kind of, oh, so there's actually a little plastic cap on here we're gonna have to try to figure, oh, that came off pretty easily. So I guess if you want to use the juice, you've got this little insert here with a little hole in the middle, and you can just pour the juice out. But if you want the whole peppers, they actually made it pretty easy to just pour the whole thing out. So we'll get us a few peppers on there. Dang, if I didn't just pour all the juice out, this might be a one-time user. So I've got probably about 10 peppers up on the top. I got an idea. So since I just poured most of the juice from this thing and I got these peppers sitting in here now, I'm gonna try putting pickle juice in here, and maybe it'll turn spicy after it's been sitting in there with these peppers. So we'll come back to this and we'll try to restock our pepper sauce with, and we'll make pickle pepper sauce. So now we're gonna put our stick of butter in there. Didn't say anything about stirring. It says sit it right in there. That's what we're gonna do. Needless to say, this does seem to be a pretty easy recipe so far. So I guess as the butter melts, it's just gonna roll over the pot roast and make it right. Now here's where the science comes in, because science is about trial and error, and testing and hypothesis. My hypothesis is 1 can of this and maybe 1 cube of the beef bouillon. I mean, I don't know if it even really needs beef bouillon, because it's a whole pot roast sitting in there. That's a plenty of beef. It's not like you're trying to simulate a beef flavoring. I think with this beef broth in there, it's gonna make a nice gravy, especially with that ranch mix. But we're playing with unknown forces here. I know a lot of you watching are probably like, Robbie, follow the recipe, follow the recipe. Trust me, I have read the recipe at least once and a half. I understand that we are not going by the recipe 100%, but some of cooking is exploration. I mean, where would we be if Columbus hadn't come across the Atlantic Ocean? Where would we be if, what's another great, if Galileo hadn't looked off into the stars? We would be in a flavorless world. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty good. It does not look bad. Now, as this thing cooks and cooks, I imagine it's just gonna get better and better. I do feel kind of like we need to put some salt and pepper in there. We got, well, let's see how much salt is in the broth. That might have sodium. Oh, no, we do not need any extra salt. My beef broth has that covered. But we probably do need to put a little pepper in there. Or maybe that's where the pepperoncinis come in. Okay, I will stick to the recipe. That is literally all it calls for. So we're gonna close the lid. We'll let it sit. I feel like this is turning into a Blue's Clues for cooking. So like, I'll make a statement and I would love to see the comments that go along with it or the questions. And people are like, no, don't do that, do this. Yeah, Hope is even trying to jump in and advise me on how to cook this thing. Oh, whoa, whoa. So, well, we'll take a look every couple hours, maybe stir it up a little bit, maybe flip the pot roast, but that's it for the pot roast. We'll let it sit and we'll see what we got, and I'll come back and we'll do a little clip every once in a while to see where we're at and how this is progressing. So keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see you in a few. All right, so we are back again to try my pickle experiment. So we've got our near empty bottle of pepper sauce, and we've got my favorite type of pickles, my Claussen pickles that I got out of the fridge. So we're just gonna add a little bit of this pickle juice to these peppers, and maybe later on we'll try some of these peppers on something like a barbecue or something I'll pick up from somewhere, and we'll see what we got. So we're just gonna move a little bit at a time, and we're gonna restock our juice. I'm not gonna put, I'm putting, what is this, a teaspoon? I'm going for 4 teaspoons of pickle juice into my pepper sauce. Well, that didn't do a whole lot. Let's put 4 more in and see what we got. So I think this pickle juice is pretty much vinegar and dill and garlic. And this pepper sauce is pepperoncinis and probably vinegar. Tabasco peppers, vinegar, water, salt, turmeric. So I think I'm just going to put a little bit of water to cap it off so I don't have to keep wasting all of my pickle juice, but the ingredients are pretty similar. So I mean, this is just going to be a special blend of pepper sauce. So we'll try to do something with that later, but yeah, I mean, if you run out, why not grab something in the fridge and try to restock your pepper sauce? So, Now, I did read in the recipe that you could substitute the pepper sauce for the pickle juice. That was in there. I know it was in there. So maybe that's where I got the idea from, because it was an interchangeable idea. It's one or the other. That pickle would add an interesting flavor to it. I'm sure it's going to be interesting. So I don't think, again, I'm going to stick with what we got with our pepper sauce, but maybe if we do another pot roast down the road, we'll try our pickled pepper sauce instead and see what we got. But that's it for now. We're just going to keep watching it cook, and it's only a few minutes after, so I mean, the butter is still a whole stick of butter sitting there on top. Not a lot of action on the pot roast yet. The glass is fogged up to where I can kind of barely see through it, but it's starting to smell good. I can smell the aroma of the herbs and spices that have been added. So we'll be back here in a bit and we'll see what we got. All right, so we're back again. It's been close to an hour, so I was just kind of curious. I figured we'd take a look so you can know. But looks like our butter is melted. Our peppers are kind of floating up to the top. Whoa. If you look in there, you can see there's a nice oil slick up on the top. That's our butter melting. The meat has gotten the kind of it looks like it's starting to cook a little bit, kind of stewing. So we'll close the lid and we'll let it keep going. Now that lid has gotten, it's kind of warm to the touch. It hasn't really gotten too hot to touch yet. So this is the early part. We still got 5 hours to go. So things are looking good. Probably on that last half hour, once I've decided it's ready to roll, is when we're going to make our rice. And, I got to thinking, if worse comes to worse, and the gravy part doesn't really work out, I do have one of these. So we can use our jar of gravy if the gravy in the pot roast doesn't really come out the way I hoped it would. So we'll just keep an eye on it and see what happens. And from here, I'm just going to go get me a soda and play some video games and enjoy the Sunday. So we'll see you back in a minute. So checking up on the roast again. It's hour number 2. It's looking good. All the butter's melted. And if you look in there, you can see we got our peppers. We got our meat starting to come up a little bit. And it's cooking nicely. Some of that meat's even turned brown. You can see all that seasoning just kind of piling up, so it's looking good. And we'll come back and check it again here in a minute, and we'll just let it keep doing its thing. Okay, so we're back again. It's been about 4 hours now. My whole house smells amazing. Let's take a peek at this roast, and you'll see what I mean here real quick. So it's all nice and ooh, that steamed up my glasses. I can't see nothing. We got a little bit of a boiling going on. That meat looks really good, nice and tender. The broth never really developed into a gravy, so that's not so much of a problem. I think I am going to use our can of gravy thing, and we'll go ahead and heat that up. But hey, this thing, another couple of hours, and we should be ready to eat. I was just going to take a moment to talk about the rice we're going to use here. So this is an amazing development of science. This is a microwave cup of rice. It's about 1 serving of rice, and all you do is you take this cover off, you cook it for a minute, and you have a nice thing of some white rice. Too easy. I mean, really. Now, I'm not saying minute rice is all that hard, but minute rice is deceptive because it does take more than 1 minute to make minute rice. I'd say cook time, prep time, and everything, you're looking at more like 10 minutes to having it on your plate from when you start cooking it. But this is literally, you pull the thing off, you cook it for a minute, you don't even put water in it. I'm not really sure how that works, but no, I've done it before and it came out pretty decent. I mean, it gives you a plain Jane cup of white rice in 1 minute. 1 minute cook. We'll say a minute and 10 seconds. However long it takes you to peel that off and set the microwave to a minute is your cook time for this rice. So again, we still got another couple of hours before we're ready to eat our roast. We got to get it to that absolute perfect amount of tenderness, and it's looking like it. It's smelling like it. We just want to make sure it's going to taste like it too. So anyway, here's our cup of rice. There's our roast. You know what? I think I'm gonna cook up some of my candied yams too. And that's, again, we're just gonna open up the can and heat that up same time we cook the rice. So yeah, we'll be back in a few minutes and we'll go over the next steps for this amazing meal that has been almost a whole day of me playing video games in preparation. So yeah, I'm liking this meal more and more. It looks good, smells good, and it really didn't take a whole lot of me spending time in the kitchen to do anything with it. So yep, we'll be back in a few minutes and I'll see you then. All right, so we are back again with Cooking with Robbie, and I've decided that we need a little bit more than just rice, gravy, and some meat. So I've decided to add a can of Bruce's yams. So we're just gonna get us out our pot. These are super easy to make. All you gotta do is pretty much heat them up. They're already sweetened. So it's as easy as turning on our burner. We're gonna open up the can. There we go. Ow! I dropped the can. This is a big can. So I think the next accessory I need to add to the Cooking with Robbie kitchen items is a new can opener, because that thing just don't work so great half the time. Anyway, we pour in our yams. I'm going to do that number with them. Now this is going to syrup up really nice, but I like to add a hair of another special ingredient, because I like my yams to be sweet. So I've got some light corn syrup, and we're just going to add a dollop of that in there. maybe 2 dollops. It don't take much. This is some super sweet stuff. I usually use it when I'm making candies and stuff, which it's been a while, but that will make it sweet. Then we're gonna add a little bit of another secret ingredient. My tried and true cinnamon sugar recipe. And we're gonna just sprinkle that on the top a little bit. And we'll put that in there. And that should do it for that. We just got to keep it warm, stir it every once in a while, and we'll keep going with that. Let's go ahead and get our gravy warming up. Again, we're just going to get a nice small saucepan. We'll pop open the can. We'll pour in our little gravy mix. Pour it all in there, why not? It looks a little gelatinous. So we're just going to take this over, and again we'll put this on another burner on low heat. Again, we just want to warm this up, and let's take a look at our roast here. Oh boy, it's looking good. Now, at the 3rd hour, I came in and I just flipped it. And I'm gonna do it's falling apart. This thing is ready. This thing is ready to eat. There's no more flipping it. It is falling apart on us. But what I am gonna do, because I want to flavor up that gravy a little bit, is I'm gonna come back with my cup of gravy. I'm gonna get some of that juice. And I'm gonna put that in with my gravy. To give us some of that good flavor that I've got going on in there. So we're going to get our straw. First, we're going to stir up my yams, and you got to be gentle. You don't want to bust up your yams. You don't want to squish them. Let me bring you a little bit closer so you can see what we got going on here. I'm going to pull you out the clip here. So, like I said, you got your yams, come under them a little bit. You're stirring them, you're mixing up the ingredients, but you're not squishing your yams. You want them to stay kind of consistent and whole, but you don't want to squish them. Nobody wants to squish the yam. All right, there's that. I'm gonna come over here to our gravy. I'm just gonna stir in some of that stuff. Yeah, this looks kind of unappetizing right now. It's just a brown gravy that I bought in the thing. But I think if we add a little bit more of our juices from the roast beef, I think we'll be in business. So let's go over here and get us a measuring cup out. We'll get a little bit more of that juice, because I don't think we got enough of it on the first try. All right, we open that up. I'm gonna come in here and we're just gonna get a nice helping of that. I mean, that's essentially gravy if you add flour to it. And we're just gonna pour it in there. And this is kind of thinning out the gravy, so I may still need to add some flour. But as gelatinous as this gravy is, I think we're okay. This is just gonna make it taste good. There we go. I'm gonna use this as my spoon holder for now, since we've already got it. I want you to take a look at how tender this roast is and how well this came out. If you pinch it, oh boy, it falls right off the bone. Well, there's no bone in there, but this is ready to eat. So literally, all we've got to do is finish warming up. We just got to finish warming up our yams, get our gravy ready, and we'll be ready to eat. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our rice real quick. We're gonna peel the top. This would be a lot easier with 2 hands. Eek. Man, that's a strong cup of rice. I'm just gonna peel that sucker right off of there. There we go. There we go. It's already got a little seasoning in there. I think that there is something inside of that rice, like a little pouch of water or something, that when you put it in the microwave, it just breaks up. But Again, there's our rice. We're gonna hit one, and I'm gonna let y'all watch this with me. So you'll start hearing something sound like it's breaking apart. Yeah, y'all hear that? That's the rice. I don't know how this cooking in the microwave works, but I mean it does. You hear a little sizzling, a little popping. 1 minute in the microwave and you got a thing of rice. So I'm not gonna touch it right out of the thing. It's gonna be hot as heck, but this gives us a little time to cook those yams and to get that gravy right. And then we'll have our rice that we can put some gravy on, and we'll be in business. You can hear it popping and a sizzling in there. Let me go grab a bowl real quick, and I'm gonna try to pour it right out of there and show y'all what we got. Now, I will admit, when I cooked this at the house the other day, I did put just a dash of water in it, but you don't have to. I mean, it looks moist. I don't know where the water come from. So we're just gonna, and believe me, this sucker is hot. Oh, I guess I could use my tongs and not burn myself. The thing I was most surprised at was the, okay, so look at all that moisture in there. It came from somewhere. So we've got a rice cake there. I'm gonna take my spoon from over here and watch, we'll just break it up. It's just like having a fresh served thing of rice on a plate. Beautiful, beautiful, and steaming and hot and good. I mean, for microwave rice, it don't get no easier than that. Like I said, look, there's no crunching. It is soft. I mean, it's a little stuck together, but that's a nice bowl of rice. So, yeah, I mean, we're pretty much ready to eat. I'm gonna go ahead and give these yams just another minute. The gravy's heating up nicely. Our yams are starting to have a little steam coming off of them. I'm gonna get a drink ready, and I will see you at the dinner table. All right, so it is my favorite part of the show. It's time to eat. Now the sun has gone down and the moon has come up, and I'm finally ready to eat. So for our beverage choice, we have a Miller High Life. I thought this would pair well with the roast beef, the pot roast, whatever you would like to call it. Now, I'm extremely impressed with how this came out. I actually had a really hard time. I had to break out the tongs to get this out of the crock pot. I mean, it has melted and it smells and looks so good. And I've accompanied it with one of my favorite, we've got some candied yams here. Again, super easy to make. And I did make one mistake. This is dirty rice. This isn't white rice. So the gravy I made is pretty pointless because I'm not going to put gravy on wild rice, on yellow rice. And I really wanted to try the pot roast without any additional gravy or anything on it. So we're trying it without. I think it's going to be stupendous. I mean, it looks amazing. Hope already had a little nibble and it was gone within a fraction of a second. There's the speed of light and there's the speed of Hope eating this pot roast. And I would believe that in a in a closed vacuum that Hope might actually beat the speed of light at the rate that she ate that pot roast. So again, she just had a little sample, just a little piece of the chunk of fat that I grabbed loose with the tongs, but she really enjoyed this. So let me crack out the beer. We're gonna clear my palate. And again, the Cooking with Robbie show does not endorse any drinking of alcoholic beverages, but for the sake of this show, I think it will pair well with this pot roast. So here's the first bite. Let's see what we got. This is delicious. If I ever have company over, this will definitely be on the menu for what I feed my guests. This is hands down delicious. You could probably convert a vegetarian back to the cause of eating meat with this pot roast. This is delicious. So, ooh. And I'm glad I did not add any extra pepper. But holy cow, adding those little pepperoncinis and that pepper sauce, that is the perfect amount of spice. This is hands down the best pot roast I've ever had in my life. This is good. So let's try out. I mean, I want to get back to my meats because that's probably my favorite thing on this plate. But let's go around the circle and try out our candied yams. Now this is a very good accent because you've got the sweet and the salty spicy. So if you go kind of back and forth, it'll balance out. Ooh, that was a good idea. I'm glad I broke open that can of yams. This is going to be good all week long. So one of the things I plan to do with the pot roast is I've got some hot dog buns, and me and my dad are planning on going out to the field to go get our arms warmed up for baseball season, and we're going to cook out some hot dogs on the grill at the park. And anyway, I got the hot dog buns for that, but for lunch, I'm going to pack up a hot dog bun with some of this pot roast, and that's going to be a meal in itself. That'll be delicious for lunch. And then for dinner, you know, I still have those white potatoes that I could pair up and have with it. So let's taste our microwave rice. I know a lot of y'all are curious about this. So the rice is delicious. It is a pre-seasoned kind of wild yellow rice. Well, not wild rice, it's yellow rice. But it's a little salty. It's got a lot of seasoning and oils to it, and that's probably what makes it cook in the microwave. But no, this is perfectly edible. I mean, it's beyond edible. It's good. I'm not sure how well it pairs up with the pot roast and the yams, but as far as a quick lunch or a quick way to make an add-on to a meal, I mean, this is perfect. It would probably go okay with some tacos, but I'm going to leave this in the scientific marvel section, but not necessarily as good as, yeah, you can see you've got a little strand of it stuck together, but it's still soft. I mean, it's the flavor's good. I mean, it's rice. Very easy. Trying to figure out what the flavor is that's in the rice. Problem is I threw the box away and I just had the microwave rice package. And like I said, it's good rice. Certainly not as good as the pot roast or the yams, but I'm just trying to go ahead and eat it and figure out what the flavor is. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. It just isn't a very good match for the rest of the meal, but that's good. Let's go around the circle, and I'm going to grate it and clear my palate. So, Miller High Life, this is a long time favorite beer of mine. Of course, my preference is Budweiser, just a straight up Budweiser. I think that goes about well with any kind of steak or roast beef, pot roast, chili. High Life is okay. Um, Definitely a budget beer. Quality wise, I think it's just about as good as any other beer. I mean, Bush Light, Natural Light, Bud Light. Um, you can add a lime to this just like you can any other beer. Again, my preference is Budweiser. That's my favorite beer, but this has a good flavor to it. So, again, we'll give Miller High Life. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Moving on to the pot roast. The pot roast. Let's do another little quick sampling of the taste. So this whole meal, the pot roast is my favorite. I love the spiciness that you get from that pepper sauce. And I'm really kind of curious now to try the pickle. Adding the pickle juice is a sauce to it, but no, this is excellent. And like I said, I will stand by. This is probably the best pot roast I've ever had. The recipe was easy to make. Um, Literally, the only thing I did after I put all the ingredients in the crock pot, about at the 3 hour mark, I just flipped the roast beef over, or the pot roast. I flipped it over, and I put some of those peppers back on the top because I kind of wanted to make sure that they were soaking through the meat evenly. And now this has that spice, and the spice really makes this what I like the most. The other flavors are very traditional. The pot roast, the ranch adds, what you would expect from a pot roast. But the pepperoncinis, the little pepper sauce, that Texas Pete pepper sauce, that makes it above and beyond delicious. And I was kind of doubting it at first. I was like, this is going to taste like eating a red pepper or something. But no, this is actually really good. So yeah, I'm going to give the pot roast I'm going to say a 9 out of 10. And the only reason I'm not going all the way with this is because there's still a lot of other really high quality meats out there like briskets and filet mignons. I mean, I'm going to put this right behind them. And seasoning wise, this is a 10 out of 10. This is perfect. I love the seasoning on this. The quality of meat, it's tender, it's juicy. I mean, I would have a hard time choosing between actually, I wouldn't have a hard time choosing. I would choose this over an Outback filet mignon. Now, a fancier steak restaurant like a Ruth Chris, I would most certainly go with a filet mignon or even a sirloin from a Ruth Chris, but this is top tier. This is delicious. So to those of you watching that want to try out an easy to make restaurant at home, or an easy to make recipe at home, this is excellent. Very, very good. So again, I'm going to give a shout out to Gene. Good suggestion. This is delicious. And thank you again, because this made my night. And we got the yams over here. Now, again, very easy to make these. You open up the can, you put some cinnamon sugar and some light corn syrup in there, because these were the Bruce's with nothing else. It was just literally the yams in a can. And added up some sweetener and warmed them up and wait till they boil, give them a few minutes, and they're good to go. So easy to make. I mean, they're very good. It's one of my favorite, I guess you could call it a vegetable, even though a sweet potato is a starch, I think. Yeah. But it's got some vegetable, healthy benefit kind of stuff in it. Like, I think they're good for you. And I didn't put that much sugar in it, so they're still healthy. So again, just trying to add some color to the plate. The only thing I know that's missing is green, and it's going to be a really hard argument to try to make me make some spinach or I'm trying to think of things that are green that I'll eat. Like, well, the only thing I'll eat is green beans, but we'll get to that one day. So all in all, the yams on the I'm gonna put these in the vegetable rankings is an 8 out of 10. I think my favorite vegetable would be a green bean soaked with some bacon or ham. But this is closer to a dessert. I could almost put some Cool Whip on this and have a couple of pecans and make it a sweet potato yam souffle. But nope, it's good. Everything is good. So yeah, another successful episode of Cooking with Robbie. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm tired of talking. I'm ready to eat. So me and Hope will see you on the next episode. And again, thanks for joining me on Cooking with Robbie. Oh.